the things that we notice in organizations, okay, the management that paradigms that we're used to have originated during the assembly line days. So what was important is your limbs, right? You're part of the assembly line and you need to be doing a particular job. Okay. But if you fast forward to today, I don't think those assumptions are really valid, because what we really want today is the engagement of the mind.
Correct.
Right? And the engagement of even the intention, I want to do something, I want to add value, right? So if you kind of start looking at it, a lot of those principles break down, and there's a new set of principles that we need to start accepting. Okay. So the new way of looking at organizations is an organization is a living entity, like a forest. It's a living entity.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another fantastic episode of the Lalith Dhanush Show. Today I have with me the pioneer of BNI Bangalore, a veteran entrepreneur and an amazing human being. He is Mr. Balaji Pasumarthy, who is into the co-working space for the last 26 years, and his company is called Golden Square. He also founded and started BNI in Bangalore over 15 years ago. In this podcast, you will understand what it takes to truly start a business, what are some of the challenges and difficulties that an entrepreneur should overcome and how they actually can overcome it. So watch this entire episode and I'm sure you will have a lot of takeaways if you are someone who's interested in starting your own business or wants to join one. Watch this episode and let me know how you feel about it. Hello Balaji sir, welcome to my show. It's a wonderful pleasure to have you here, and I'm just waiting for the whole world to see this podcast episode. And welcome sir, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Lalith, and what a lovely opportunity you've given me. I'm already impressed by all the arrangements that you've done. Lovely setup.
Thank you so much sir, thank you so much sir. Just to give a little bit of context to the people who are watching. The first time I saw you was when I attended a BNI meeting, and I was attending the Champions Chapters meeting. You also had an educational session that day, and I was super impressed by what you had to say. And I remember somebody introducing you. And when they were introducing you, they spoke about your educational qualification, and they said you are an IITian and you've graduated out of IIM. I for one was startled. I'm like, this is not possible. And sir, quickly I want to ask. Why did you get into the IIT and how did you transition into the IIM?
Oh my. Okay. So, okay, by the way, I was not always a great student, okay? So
really?
Oh yes. In fact, when I was a kid, my report card used to be so bad that people would, look at it and feel good about themselves. So it just happened that something triggered and I started becoming better and better at my studies. So what I wanted to say is I'm not a genius. It's just that I think I persevered and did what's required, and I was really, by the time I was preparing for IIT, I was really hooked into it. In a sense, I really loved studying. I really loved doing all those problems that I had to do. So much so that I remember once when I was preparing for my exams, my mother used to come and tell me that you should go out and play.
Okay.
How come you're not going out and play? And I used to think, why is she telling me this? Okay, because I'm loving what I'm doing.
Okay.
It's not that I was not putting in those time, that hard work, but I love what I'm doing. So why are you, telling me this? So anyway, so that's how it became for me, and that's the definition of work. Work is something that you totally enjoy doing, right? And I think I felt that when I was preparing for in my plus two and so on. And somewhere during my IIT journey, I think I lost, or more than lost, in fact there was a course on economics.
Okay.
And that was possibly my first, what shall we say?
Taste.
A taste of humanities and that kind of things, And somehow that started attracting me. And when the choice came, what should I do further studies in engineering or, MBA or whatever, I said, okay, I'm going to do MBA. I want to figure this out a little more.
Wow.
So that's how I got into IIM. I didn't even apply for colleges abroad and all that.
Okay.
Because I was quite certain that I wanted to do an MBA.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got into IIM Bangalore. I got into some of the best one of the best companies those days as far as placement is concerned, the Unilever Group. But very quickly, I kind of didn't feel like what I used to feel when I was studying for IIT, right? I wasn't feeling engaged.
Okay.
There was a disconnect. And so I kind of told myself that if I'm feeling like this in one of the best companies,
Okay.
right, like the Unilever, known for its, attracting the best talent and all its practices, then I think, corporate world is not for me.
Awesome.
Okay, I need to start something on my own.
So didn't you have a work experience time between IIT and IIM?
No, I went straight away. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how I started Golden Square. So Golden Square is into service private offices,
Okay.
which is 26 years old now.
Oh wow.
So I think we are the oldest in the business. I won't say pioneers because there were other players,
Okay.
but oldest Bangalore-based serviced office provider.
Okay, you also recorrected me that time when I said co-working spaces. You said that's the lingo of now, and then I was thinking, what would it be? Then you said serviced private offices.
Yeah.
So was it a concept that you were inspired from here, or how did you get into that? Like, what was the inspiration?
Once I decided that I needed to start on my own, I was looking for some business ideas. And this was 95, right, when we started. So a little earlier was when I was thinking about which business to start. India had just opened up. 91 was when
Economy and the globalization, yeah.
So new companies were coming into India, and getting a telephone line used to take 6 months, right? So I said, okay, so this is a gap over there, that companies are coming to India and the infrastructure is not there. So what if we get everything ready for them, right?
Wow.
So people can get an instant office with the necessary support. So those days, even laptops and all were not very common. Internet wasn't there. So we in fact had a typewriter and a stenographer in our office, because that was the requirement those days.
True.
Right? So people used to come purely because they wanted their letters to be typed, and they wanted a telephone that they could use, right?
Yeah,
Right away.
it's all the convenience that comes along with it.
So that's been the philosophy of Golden Square, joy at work. That you come to Golden Square, focus on what's really important for you to do and where you need to be spending time on. Everything else is taken care by our team. So that differentiator is still there. So it's not about why I resist the word co-working is. So it's not really about coming to network with other people. It's coming to Golden Square to get work done.
Yes.
Okay. I think there are better ways to network, like BNI. Okay.
True.
So the better ways to network. And it's not that we don't have events and those things happening in Golden Square, but the focus is on productive workspace.
True.
So in Golden Square, it's all about, you won't have distractions. For example, visual or sound. So our designs are such that when you're working, like you're working on an important proposal, right? And if it's a glass partition, somebody walks across, it distracts you, and you lose concentration.
True.
That won't happen in Golden Square.
Yes.
Because of the design. Okay. There won't be noise. So we have separate areas for conferences and breakout rooms and so on, but it won't disturb your workspace.
Superb.
Okay.
So I have a question here. You said Golden Square was established 26 years ago, and now that this is it has its own stronghold in business. I'm a new generation entrepreneur. I just started my business about 3 years ago, and there are so many challenges that I start seeing in my own business. Now, for somebody who has that experience, who has that understanding of business, sir, what were some of the challenges that you faced in your initial days of Golden Square? Something that you overcame, and something that that really challenged you to your fullest.
So I think two things are coming to my mind. So one was I had taken those days venture capital and all was not there at all, right? So and a serviced office, the investment is in the real estate and so, or the office space itself. So I'd borrowed some money and then taken a loan from SBI, and I had given a what shall I say, the advance money to the, I actually purchased the place from the office space using all of these things, right? So now immediately I had commitments.
Yes.
So I'd gone for a holiday. When I came back, I got information from the bank that the RBI has a new policy, no real estate related loans. So now I was in a fix, right? Now I need to make my commitments to the property, the rest of the payments and all that. And the project has to be interiors, everything has to happen, but there's no funding. What do I do? So that was my first brush with networking.
Okay. How did you overcome that, sir? I'm so
Yeah.
intrigued.
Okay, so I tapped into my network. I started asking everyone that, hey, this is the problem, what do I do? So one very successful business person, he said, see, the bank that I was dealing with was SBI. So he said, the bank is very ethical, right? So you shouldn't even try anything non-ethical, but you need to reach to the person who is the decision maker. You need to get his ear. So I got that tip, right? Then I started asking for, okay, who knows this person? Okay, specific ask. Then one of my relatives, he happened to know someone else who was working, who was an ex-banker. And he said, I'll get you an appointment. I know he knows this guy, this person. I went and met him. This friend, his name is Mr. Subramaniam. And he took a fancy for me. He said, your case is really genuine. I need to this thing. And then a couple of weeks later, I got an appointment with the concerned person.
Okay.
Right? Now, the interesting thing is what happened? What did Mr. Subramaniam do to get me that appointment? So he took his wife along to meet him.
Okay.
And in that meeting, they said, how can you treat Balaji like this? He's a young entrepreneur, is just trying to, establish himself, and the bank has done this to him. You need to step in, right? Now imagine that was just a 1 hour meeting, right? But
Okay.
the power of the relationships, because I know this, a relative of mine, that person knows this. And because of those, what shall I say, credibility in those relationships, this kind of conversation can happen, right? Otherwise it can't happen.
Very true.
So I got that appointment, and then I put my case forward. He said that, see, I got it, I understand, but the file has to travel from the branch. So you work your way up. So I went back to the branch, put my case, this, that, the paper traveled, the files traveled up, and it was finally sanctioned.
Wow.
And Golden Square happened.
So that's brilliant. So now you've given us two specific instances. One, you spoke about the power of networking. And today they say network is your net worth. And no matter what kind of problem you're in, what kind of solution you want, what challenge you want to overcome, everything is possible through your network. And speaking of which, let's move on to another part of your life, which is BNI. And that's where I saw you. So BNI stands for Business Networking International. Sir, can you tell us and the audience what BNI does, like in terms of networking? What is the golden rule there? And second, how has maybe an instance of how BNI has really helped you establish a part of your business or anything around that?
I mean, BNI has been just life-changing for me. It's been just amazing. So there's a little bit of backstory over here also. How did BNI happen? So it's again a story about networking, as well as how entrepreneurship happens. There's a lovely theory by Saraswati called effectuation, right? So an entrepreneur's journey is filled with so many things which just happen because of who you are, what you know, whom you know. Okay, so there's a combination of these things changing, and the business, the way the business is happening changes as well. So it's that kind of a story. So I had actually started a magazine as well called Business Gyan, which was solving a very peculiar problem of space market. I mean, office space marketing. This is pre-internet days, pre-Google search days. Okay, so how do clients find you, right? So we had come out with a magazine called Business Gyan, which was catering to new companies setting up operations in Bangalore. Okay, so a guy called Yap was in Malaysia, and he was meeting a person called Verma, saying that, see, I'm planning to go to Bangalore to start a new network, and that network was called, Excel. Okay, and I don't know Bangalore, so tell me what to do. So Verma gave him a copy of Business Gyan magazine, and he said, whatever you need is there in this magazine, so why don't you refer to it?
Okay.
So Yap came to Bangalore, and he came and met me. He said, I got this magazine, it's really useful, but I want you to cover an event that Excel is doing.
Okay.
Okay, and the event costs so much, but we're not going to charge you because you're going to, cover us. I said, okay, sure. But I got hooked. I really liked the network, so I joined that network. And Yap started the same network in Mumbai, where Neeraj Shah, who was the country head of BNI, he joined Excel there. And he said, we want to start BNI in Bangalore. So Yap came back to me and said, BNI is really good. I've seen it work in Malaysia. You need to start it in Bangalore. Okay. And around the same time, my sales team in Business Gyan was complaining that you have to give us more leads.
Okay.
Where do we get advertisements and so on? So the two things kind of came together, right?
Fair
I had
enough.
a problem, I need to, okay. So anyways, Yap pestered us for 6 months, and because of that, I went to Mumbai along with Anantram and Mac.
Okay.
So they were also Excel members.
Okay.
Okay, we didn't know each other before, but Yap got us together and he said, you guys need to do it together. Okay, so we went to Mumbai, we saw a BNI meeting, and I was, oh wow. People are standing up and saying, I got a referral for you. Where does this happen? So this is my solution for my team. For my team, that's the solution. So let me start this right away in Bangalore. So we started it that way. So the first 3 chapters were essentially our friends, my friends, Anant's friends, Mac's friends who joined. And that's how chapters grow actually. Friends invite friends. Why? Because trust is already there, right? Referrals happen because of trust. And so trust is already there. So that's how the chapters got formed. And so fast forward, today Golden Square has, how has it helped me in my business? We have 4 memberships in BNI, and typically around 30-35% of our new clients come from this network, referrals through this network.
Wow.
In the pandemic days, I'd say it's much higher. It's more like 60-70% has happened because of BNI. So it's just amazing. We have 6 locations of Golden Square in Bangalore. 3 of them are BNI referrals.
Wow.
Because the building owner needs to invest in the property. So it's not, so that kind of trust again happens only because somebody says, hey, you need to work with Balaji, right?
Yes.
So that's the power of BNI.
Fantastic, sir. And I, for one, have also seen, at least had a glimpse of how this network really, when you walk inside, there's a perception, but as you stay in it and you grow, the perception starts evolving and changing, and you start seeing success stories that you wouldn't even have predicted, sir. And I think that's the true journey of an entrepreneur, that unpredictability part, and now you start thinking that you can predict it, and I think it's a beautiful journey. So for somebody who's done it for 26 years, you've started BNI in Bangalore, you've had Golden Square. Now, let's say if there is somebody right now who's, let's say, 21 or 22 years old, and now today's generation, they don't want to work in a job that they don't feel fit, right? Much of a problem that you might have also felt long ago. But for somebody who felt the same, what advice can you give this young person who wants to start his own business, become an entrepreneur, because that they feel is the success quotient? So what would you give as a piece of advice?
Sure. So I think I'm a full advocate of entrepreneurship, right? If somebody is asking, should I take up a job somewhere or becoming an entrepreneur, I say, become an entrepreneur. And especially nowadays, because so many, it's just opened up. Funding is available. Technology is available. Connecting to customers is easier than what it used to be. There's so many things which have made life easier being an entrepreneur. So I'd say just go for it. And for me, entrepreneurship is about, manifesting yourself, your inner desires through your business. Okay? That's what it is. And therefore, each entrepreneur's journey is so different, right? Because each person is so different. So And when you say the business is a reflection of the entrepreneur's, inner desire, so that's the reason why there is no fixed rule that this is the only way to create a business or only way to do business. It has to be something that reflects something, some itch or some craving that is there within you, and that's what the journey is all about.
So you spoke about how the entrepreneur's why reflects on the company and drives it. But as you go by for 2-3 years, some of the challenges that I have seen and personally faced is that the entrepreneur's why is strong, the foundation is very strong. But a lot of team members around the entrepreneur don't feel the same why that is equally strong. Why is that? Why is that? And I also feel that's a very significant challenge in most startups. How do you get over it, sir?
Yeah, so there is a actually design problem in the way most organizations run. Okay, so the most organizations, the way they design it is a sales guy needs to do this. Okay, accounts person needs to do this. So you're kind of standardizing the roles. Okay.
Correct.
And but then you're kind of saying, but by nature, each person is different, right? So you can't really say, you can't make a square, round square thing get into a round hole or whatever that, so that is very difficult to do, even though you try to do it, right? You give feedback and mentoring and this and that, you try to do something that you're not good at. And that's why there is a disconnect, okay? So a new way of organizing really is thinking about these two things as accept that these people are different, but there are so many tasks to be done. So we need different capabilities in the team, right? And now, don't force fit anything. Okay, just allow people to do the tasks which need to be done based on their passions and their skills. So that's the broad thought process. So there are certain things that we need to do to enable this. One is radical thing, get rid of job descriptions.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, go on. I'm intrigued now.
Get rid of job descriptions, get rid of titles. Okay. And so then what happens? Then allow people to take up tasks which they love to do. Or they like to learn. They are passionate about doing. Okay. So as a business owner, your job is to just make sure that the required talent and clarity in terms of what needs to be done as a team is clear. Once that happens, the rest of it, takes care of itself.
Sir, so I think what you said makes a lot of sense, because if people are driven by their own why, now doing any task related to that is super comfortable and easy, and they'll just walk through it. So now let's say we've established this enterprise, right? We've understood what people's why are. But as you go along, I also feel a lot of people go through fatigue, right? They are literally firefighting everything, especially entrepreneurs. They're doing multiple departments. They're into operations, HR, marketing. And the biggest problem is then you realize you got to hire, right? You got to hire. And then you ask the big question, to hire, do I have the money? Where do I get this talent from? How do you overcome these challenges as an entrepreneur? Because for the outside world, it looks very rosy.
Yeah.
Hiring is a department, yes, but for that you need infrastructure, you need a system, you need all. How do you get going to that front, sir?
Okay, so I kind of developed this theory some time back that, just like in physics, there's quantum physics and there's Newtonian physics, right?
Yes.
Two different worlds. Okay, so similarly, I think there are two different worlds, especially when you're a small entrepreneur and there's a very large company. A lot of times when we, even in our MBA colleges and so on, we are actually taught the large company fundas.
Okay.
Therefore, job descriptions, there's that and all of that. For example, if you're a large company, like Infosys or Wipro and so on, you want to hire people, you'll come up with a job description and you'll say, okay, these are the specifications. And there'll be some 100 people lining up for the job. So you'll kind of pick and choose who can fit in most of this check boxes. You don't have that kind of luxury as an entrepreneur.
True.
So it's the reverse. There's somebody standing in front of you, that person is willing to work with, right? Now, so how can I use this person? Okay, so I've got all these tasks. Which of these tasks will this person be able to do? Okay, so we need to start thinking in that sense. Okay, the other is that as an entrepreneur, cash is king, cash is scarce. So we need to start thinking about how else can we need to outsource this. We need to get somebody else to do this. But how do we do this? So we think about different models. You need not always hire people, right? You can, give it to someone who will do it part-time. Okay, give it to someone who might do it out of passion, okay, or partner with someone. And so one of the rules I have in business is try to make your fixed costs into variable costs, especially nowadays when things are so uncertain.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
I'm just giving a pitch for Golden Square now. Okay. So don't invest in office infrastructure. Come to Golden Square. Pay by the hour, as many hours you use. Just pay for that. Why do you want to have overhead? It's the same thought process for people as well.
Makes sense, sir. Makes
Right?
sense. And even in terms of marketing and stuff, like today, you don't have to have your digital marketer inside in-house. You have so many agencies that can take up and do the work for you.
A lot of times the challenge was you don't know who. Right?
Yeah.
And if you have a good network like BNI and so on, that who becomes very simple. Because there's so many people who are specializing in those niches, right? So you don't have to do everything yourself. You just need to collaborate with others.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sir, now moving on, one of the things that you also do apart from Golden Square and BNI is the fact that you help entrepreneurs actually understand their why, help build these systems around that purpose, help the team get to know this, and that's where your rich knowledge comes into play. How did you get into your third business, which is into the coaching business, and how does that run about, sir?
So some BNI members actually started asking me, how do you do this? How does Golden Square run like this? And you're so busy networking in BNI. Okay. So I started sharing my tips and they started seeing results. And it has become a small movement called Liberated Enterprise Creators. And in a sense, it's become a program. So there are 3 workshops and one-on-one session. And where I actually share these concepts. And what's so fundamental about these concepts? Like some of the examples that I just shared, the things that we notice in organizations, okay, the management paradigms that we're used to have originated during the assembly line days. So what was important is your limbs, right? You're part of the assembly line and you need to be doing a particular job. Okay. But if you fast forward to today, I don't think those assumptions are really valid. Because what we really want today is the engagement of the mind.
Correct.
Right? And the engagement of even the intention, I want to do something, I want to add value. Right? So if you kind of start looking at it, a lot of those principles break down. And there's a new set of principles that we need to start accepting. Okay? So the new way of looking at organizations is an organization is a living entity, like a forest. It's a living entity. You think about the forest, it's so vibrant.
Correct.
Everything is growing.
Yes.
But one plant can't survive on its own.
On its own, yeah.
It needs that complete ecosystem, right? And that collaboration between people, that's what an organization is.
Yeah, interdependency.
Interdependency. Everybody is doing things because it makes sense for them and they're adding value to each other and the organization grows.
Yes.
So the design of the organization has changed. Okay, so I talk about these concepts, and the parallel concept is that as an entrepreneur, your organization is a manifestation of your innermost drives, right? The problem is it is there automatically. It's there. It's driving you today without whatever you do. It's kind of I like this. I don't like this. I want to do this. I don't want to do this. That's constantly there. But we have not articulated it. Okay, it's there in the subconscious. It's somewhere, and since you're not articulated it, you're not able to explain it to people. Why are you doing what you're doing? Okay, so I've developed tools which will help someone understand what is, or give words to what is really driving them.
Super.
So it's nothing new. Is there, but you're kind of becoming present to it.
Present to it.
And once that happens, you are able to explain your organization, what it really means, why are you doing what you're doing, and it starts reflecting in your business and the decisions you take in the business and so on. The business strategy gets informed by that, and that's the power of becoming clear about your why. And that's what attracts other people to the organization. This is the reason why he is there, he or she wants to do this, and let us also join that. And that becomes a very important part of for self-organizing teams. So what is unifying them? What is connecting them together? So and further, the organization beyond the founder, it's about connecting all of these desires that people have, all the drives that people have, to the opportunities which are emerging. So how do we create an organization where this connection is happening, right? So there are tools for that as well.
Nice.
So that's that's what I do in the Liberated Enterprise Creators, present all these tools, and it's actually working very well. So it's kind of culmination of all my 26 years of journey, learnings that I'm able to share through this, and people they get really quick results, because once you kind of change a couple of thought processes, you just go ahead and start implementing these.
Correct, sir.
So that's what happens there.
So your third venture, Liberated Enterprise Creators, is an organization which helps entrepreneurs actually grow in their business from stage 1 to literally stage 100, let's say. And one of the things that I understood is that this is where you have a bunch of mentors who are mentoring these entrepreneurs, and most importantly, you are serving as the bigger mentor for all of these people. And that brings me to the fact that it's a very beautiful feeling being a mentor, because now all the reflections and the understandings that you've had, you're putting it on to the next generation or people who actually need it. Speaking about mentorship, sir, who was your mentor, or did you have a set of mentors that you relied upon for some sort of advice, some sort of help? Who are these mentors for you?
So I think there's several mentors who came to my life for a particular thing, right? But a lot of the what shall I say, concepts, learnings and so on, I've done through my reading.
Okay.
So, and following some of these people, doggedly, that, okay, what is this person saying, and so on. So that's one. At a individual level, whom I have been able to meet and get guidance and so on, he is no more. One Professor Mohan Rao, he was a professor at Indian Institute of Science. So not from a business angle, but at a different plane altogether, in terms of spirituality, you can call it, and things like that. So he's been my mentor, and now his brother. So I'd say it had an amazing impact on my life.
Super.
Understanding things beyond.
It's important, right, sir? Because at that point of time, the mentor is able to see something that you are not able to see.
Yes.
And having such people helps you build that vision, helps you build that road towards something that is unseen. So I have one last question before I let you go on the podcast. What next for you, sir? You've done so much already, 26 years into business, you've done really well, you have a network now, you have a amazing successful business. What next in the next 5-10 years? What do you want to do?
Oh, there's several ideas kind of brewing over there.
Okay.
So I really don't know how, so because of the pandemic and so on, there's a lot of changes happening in terms of how work happens, where it happens and so on. So there might be a new avatar of Golden Square that we might see. So that's something. I don't know what it is, but I think it will emerge. Definitely Liberated Enterprise Creators, it's actually a passion of mine, because all my learnings, and I see that it's benefiting people, so I'm definitely focused on that, making sure more and more people. I don't give it too much time, but definitely it's a sustained effort and energy, and I'm creating a lot of coaches and consultants over there so that they can take it to more people.
Super.
So that's happening, and I'm sure new things will happen. It's all about, the whole theme is about, liberating people from the hassles they feel in their work. Okay, so that's the unifying theme, whether it BNI, LEC or Golden Square. There are some hassles that people are facing in business, we'll remove that.
Super. So I think the kind of vision you have and the kind of impact you want to create speaks volumes for itself through your work that you're doing. And today, if we go to a BNI network, everybody knows you and the kind of quality of work that you bring in, the ethic that you bring in. I, for one, have learned so much in the little conversations that we've had, including the podcast today. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. It's been an amazing pleasure. I'm looking forward to attending some of your programs. I'm also looking forward to learning so much more from you, because I really, in many ways, look up to you as a business person and as an individual. Thank you so much one more time for coming onto our podcast.
Thanks,
sir.
Lalith. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
And you kind of brought out so many things in this short conversation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.